Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept, and I am here to talk to you today about a glaring problem that has come to light, brought to light really because of the COVID-19 situation. Now, I do my best, as I've mentioned before, to avoid watching all the news and all the media coming in because I've seen flaws in all of it. Okay, my own household included. Now, with my household, I know what I'm talking to you about. I'm already dealing with the people in my house and the people I come in contact with directly. Okay, now I'm talking specifically about the way that the Chinese people that are not living in China right now, many of whom have not been there in decades. Now we saw this same kind of treatment happen to people, happening to the black people. We still see a lot of it today, happening to the black people because of slavery. We saw it happen in World War II to the Japanese because of Pearl Harbor. We have seen the treatment of minorities around the world, gays included. Now, I'm not talking about the governmental policies. There are problems with all of them. Okay. And please understand the word all. It means all. No exclusions. Okay. Now, you may have a household that's working perfectly and you're doing all the right things, and I sure hope so. All the things that follow karmic law, quite frankly. But what I'm concerned with right now is the way that the Chinese people, on the whole, are being talked about. And I don't mean the ones in China that may have something to do with it or may not. If you know they've got something to do with the situation, that's one thing. But the amount of rhetoric that I'm hearing regarding the way that people are treating Chinese and I'm talking about just because of birthright. Well, we cannot blame the people that were the Chinese people that have Chinese heritage. We cannot effectively blame them for the problem that is happening in China today. And the fact that the governments are at odds with each other because of the situation, that is not the individual's problem. Well, it's their problem. It's not their responsibility. They didn't do it. Okay. Now, this said, ignoring all the governmental influence, ignoring all of the media that's out there, whether it's put out by individuals, put out by companies, or put out by the media. Okay, now, regardless of all of that, focusing only on yourself and what you are telling people you know, those in your household, those you run into out and about, even in the chat rooms. Are you, how are you treating other people? Are you one of these people looking at the Chinese going, the Chinese across the board are the cause? Okay, or they are the problem because they're Chinese, it's their fault. Well, I'm going to wrap one up a little tighter on that, or a little looser. Chinese, Canadians, Americans, East Indians, Africans, it doesn't matter who you are. Okay, it really doesn't. The greater majority of you are human. So, this said, it is a human problem. They call it a pandemic because it's affecting the entire world. Okay, in point of fact, it's affecting the animals and the plants as well. Now, that said, focusing on only yourself. Are you treating the people that you know, people that you've known, especially in the case of people you've known for decades yourself or years yourself? The people that are not living in China are to be treated the same as everybody else living in your country. Okay, I hope that means you're treating everybody nicely. We have to look at this as a global community. This is not a Chinese problem. It is not a problem of the Western society. It is not a problem of the Middle Eastern society. It is a global problem. This is affecting all of humanity. Now, that said, do your best to avoid turning your back on the people that you know. I'm seeing it all over the place, where just because somebody's skin color is a little different, they're being treated poorly. Okay, it is time to put that to a grinding halt. Now, again, the trick is to bring your focus back to what you are personally responsible for, what comes out of your mouth, what you tell people, how you treat people. That's on you, not on any government, not on any media. Okay, when you look at any media, whether it is a personal thing, as in a personal post, or something you hear from somebody individually, check your facts. We can safely say that the Chinese people that are not living in China, and especially the ones that haven't been there in decades, can you stop looking at them as though they're the problem? They're not the problem. The problem is COVID-19. Get focused on that, and you find a lot of the problem that you're facing with the rest of it goes away. Okay. Now we saw the same thing, by the way, happen with the Jewish people back in World War II. Okay. World War II was a massive, massive turning point. And COVID-19 has exactly the same side effect. It is changing the way the world is looking at each other. The question is, are you going to personally start looking at people as equals, regardless of where they come from, regardless of their bank account? The reality is, I'm hearing of ricochet effects. In other words, the people that are living in, and I'm just going to say in Canada, but the Chinese people that are living around the world that haven't been home in decades, okay, or haven't been home in years even, that are doing business in your country, okay, and even the people doing business in China, by the way, but the people doing business in the Western countries, in foreign countries from their homelands, what's happening, from what I gather, is that the people that their friends still living in mainland China are being treated very poorly as well. Now, the reality of it is that this is causing bigger problems that are far more reaching than what you may realize. Now, in recent history, we can look at what the Japanese went through when Pearl Harbor hit. Okay, understand, the Chinese people that are not at home right now are having a very serious problem that the rest of us are not going to relate to. Okay, think of it this way. Okay, some of you out there have your loved ones caught away from home. Think of what would happen if you actually had people living in China, and China is under such a lockdown right now. From my understanding, they can't get home either, which means you're dealing with all sorts of extra stresses. But before I go down the wrong road here, it is critical that you, as a global community, start looking at COVID-19 as the real problem, not the skin color of your neighbor, not the business contacts of your neighbor. It's time to look at COVID-19 as the complication. And for those of you, just a quick little side note, for those of you looking at the governments and the World Health Organization and going, they're not telling us everything. They're absolutely not. In point of fact, they don't know everything. Neither do you. So what are you doing to help deal with this problem and deal with the social interaction between people? What are you personally doing? Because that's the only thing you've actually got control over. Since no form of media is absolutely perfect, okay, what are you doing with the people you know? Are you still dealing, following COVID-19 guidelines? Whether you agree with them or not doesn't matter. Are you personally dealing with your neighbors as you desire to be treated yourself? That's the critical factor. Now, I do hope that I'm going to tie this off, so I do hope you like my video. Okay, give it a big thumbs up if you would, please. Subscribe to my channel to get a look at the rest of the videos coming out, and absolutely pass this message on to everybody you know. It is time to look at COVID-19 as the problem. That is where the focus has to be. What are you doing to deal with it? What are you doing to help your community, your neighbors, regardless of their skin color, regardless of where they were born or where their heritage was? What are you doing to help work through this complication? The whole thing will pass, but the way you treat people right now, okay, and I will put it this way, in this specific case, the way you treat your Chinese neighbors right now is going to have far further reaching impact on you personally than what COVID-19 ever will. With that in mind, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.